me know next time, guys, if you see the record shut off. I didn't even notice that. Uh-oh. Well, you'll have the notes at least. That's unfortunate. Well, hopefully, how long ago did it turn off? Did you notice?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said earlier, the Lord is sovereign, and maybe I was saying some wrong things. I don't know. He didn't want that recorded. All right. So we've been covering the examples of these phrases and clauses and the building blocks for them. There's one more piece that we need, and it has to do with the clauses. All right. There are two kinds of clauses. There's what's called an independent clause and a dependent clause. Now, again, what is a clause? Clause has a subject. I'll just put subject and a verb. All right, that's a clause. And then, like I said, sometimes an object or a predicate, adjective, or noun. Now, an independent clause is a clause that makes a statement by itself. It's a complete thought. Okay? They rode home. That's a complete thought. There's a subject and a verb, and it's describing an action in this case, and it's a complete thought. She was happy. That's a complete thought. Again, so these are both examples of an independent clause. They can stand alone and still give us a thought, an idea. All right, now there's another type of clause. It's called a dependent clause. It too contains a subject and a verb. It's a clause, but it doesn't stand alone because there's something in the clause that tells us it's modifying or linked to something else in the sentence. Something else in the sentence gives us the full meaning. It cannot stand by itself. So, for example, who is a doctor? Which is happy? All right, these do have a subject and a verb. Who is the subject? Is the verb, but we don't know who is this talking about? We need something else in the sentence to give us that information. The same as which is happy. Technically, that is a clause, but it depends on something else in the sentence. These depend on something else in the sentence to give the complete thought. All right. Again, we'll go through some examples of these where you see what I'm talking about. But we want to understand for a clause, there's two types. There's an independent clause. It can stand by itself. There's a dependent clause. It has a subject and verb, but it can't stand by itself and give us a complete thought. So let me look at some examples here. Okay. So we're going to, again, identify here if we have a phrase or a clause. And then if it's a clause, tell me if it's independent or dependent. All right. So let's see. Kaptup, we'll start with you. He hit the ball. Just let us know. Is this a phrase or a clause first?
Yes. It is close.
Very good. Because we have a subject and a verb, right? What's the subject?
Subject is he.
Good.
The verb is it.
And what kind of verb is it, by the way?
Verb of action.
Okay, action. And so what is the ball doing here? What is that?
The ball is object.
Very good. It's receiving the action. Now, is this an independent or dependent clause?
It is a dependent clause. Yes.
Independent or dependent?
Dependent.
I didn't. Sorry, this. I can't hear you real well. One more time.
Dependent clause.
Okay. Are you saying dependent? That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Well, the question is, we want to ask, does this form a complete thought? Does it stand alone? And in this case, the answer is yes. He hit the ball. It's describing a complete thought or idea. So we would say in this case, actually, it's independent. It's an independent clause. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Let me ask Pastor Philip on this one. I ran home. Is that a phrase or a clause?
It is a clause because
All right.
it has the subject I and the action verb ran and object home.
Okay. And does this stand alone? Is this independent?
Yes, it stands alone. That's why it is independent clause.
Very good. Yeah, it does. It presents a complete thought. It's a simple thought, but it's a complete thought. I ran home. It's telling us a full idea. All right. Pastor, I'm going to give you one more. How about this one? Just I ran. Is that a clause?
Ran.
Yeah, not the country Iran, but I ran. Is this a
Yes,
clause or a phrase?
It is a clause, I think,
Okay.
because it contains the subject I
Yes.
and the verb of action ran.
Yes.
It describes a complete thought or complete action, complete thought.
Yeah, it's independent. Even though it's only 2 words, it's still describing an idea, a thought, a complete thought. It can stand alone. If I were to walk up to you and say, I ran, it can be expressing a complete idea. It's telling you I was just running. All right. Now, it's still, can use some more information to give more detail, but it does stand alone. All right. So this shows us an example of a complete thought. An independent clause does not have to have an object. All right. An independent clause can have an object, but it doesn't have to. Okay. All right, good. Let's see. I've lost track where we're at here. I guess Tanging, I'll ask you if you can do the next one here. Is this a phrase or a clause?
Is a phrase.
All right. How do we know that?
Yeah, no subject, verb. No subject and no verbs.
All right. That's right. Let's go to the next one here. I'm just going to keep you on. What about ate with my friend? Is that a phrase or a clause?
It's also phrase because there is no subject.
No subject. There is a verb, but no subject.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, let's try again. If that's not one, how about this one? Who ate with my friend? Is that a clause?
Is clause.
Yes.
And yeah.
We have a subject. What's the subject?
Who. Who and then verb.
Ate, right? Is this action or verb of being?
Yeah, action of the subject.
Yeah. And in this case, there is no object, right? Nothing's receiving the action because this with my friend, as you said earlier, is a phrase. Now, if I had said who ate my friend, now friend would be the object. All right, but in this case, it's who ate with my friend. That word with is very important. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me give you one more.
Yes.
How about this? Oh, I'm sorry. So is this independent or dependent?
Is it this is independent?
Okay. But think about that word who. Do we know? Do we need more information?
Do we need with my friends
Let's see.
to
Who ate with my friend? So who is the who?
Yeah,
We don't have a
someone.
complete idea yet.
Yeah.
So actually, this is
Oh,
a dependent clause.
yeah.
And if it's not clear now, hopefully I'll make it more clear as we go through some examples in scripture. But we need to have something that tells us who the who is. So who is the who? We need to know that before this is a complete. Now, how about I ate with my friend? Notice here, now I'm giving specificity. The subject is I, the verb is ate. Again, but here, now I'm saying I ate with my friend. Oh, okay, that's a complete thought. But if I just said who ate with my friend,
Yes.
unless I'm asking, if it were a question, that'd be different, but I'm not giving a question here. It's a statement. All right, so I ate with my friend. That's a complete thought. So this is an independent clause. All right. Let's do a few more here. All right, Norman, I'm going to give this one to you. He is happy. Phrase or clause, Norman? Oh, Norman says my signal's unstable.
Yeah, it's
Can you guys
very
hear
blurry
me?
and you're chopping.
Okay, is it still choppy?
I can hear.
Can hear, but the screen is blur, and it's not
Okay.
moving.
All right, let me do something here. We only have a few minutes left. I want to finish these examples. I'm going to come off, and I'll come back in. So everybody just stay there for a moment. Let me try this first. How about now? Can you see me okay?
Can see you, Pastor.
Okay, let me try sharing now and see if it's. How's the screen look now? Can you see it? Or is it still blurry?
Blurry, and taking time to come now is very blur.
All right,
The
let me
words,
do this
okay.
then. Try one more thing. So stay with me and I'll come back. I'm going to assign Joshua as the host and come back in. All right, how about now?
Okay, it's clear.
All right. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so, but you cannot get out of the assignment. You still need to do the sentence.
No problem.
Okay,
It's a clause.
it's a clause.
Okay.
How do we know that?
He is the subject. Is the verb.
Okay.
And
What's that word happy? What's that doing here?
happy
Is that
is an action.
Oh, is an action or verb of being? I guess, yeah, that's the.
Oh, this one is verb of being.
Yeah, he's not doing something. He is something. So happy then, it's not an object. What is it?
It is what's the word? His
Yeah, I know the terms.
state.
The
His
predicate,
state.
it's the predicate
He-
adjective or noun. Those are the options there.
Adjective.
Yeah, it's a predicate adjective. Okay, now, is this independent or dependent?
Independent.
Yeah, it presents a complete thought. Now, if I had said, who was happy, or who I should have, who is happy, this also is a clause.
Mhm.
All right, because we have a subject here, who
Who and is.
and is.
Mm.
But in this case, it's not independent because there's a question, who is the who? All right. So this is a dependent clause. All right.
Okay.
Okay, good.
How can who be a subject?
Because it's by definition, who is, it's called a pronoun. It's a relative pronoun.
Okay.
A pronoun is a noun. So subject just has to be a noun. And it is, again, remember, subject is the doing the action or being described. In this case, it's being described. But what makes this dependent is the fact that who is general. It's not specific. If I had said he or I or she, I'm pointing to a specific person. This is kind of, I know this is a little confusing. If we were looking at a full paragraph or a full sentence, this would make more sense. And so we'll get to an example of that as at the end. So hopefully that'll make this a little more clear. Just let me give you a couple more quick examples. At the game, that's a phrase, right? There's no subject or verb. Run. Now this is just one word, but notice we do have, it's a clause because we do have the subject that's implied, you. This is a command. The verb is run, which is an action. Okay, there's no object here. And this can be independent. This can present a complete thought. If I said to you, run, you have a full understanding of what I'm saying to you. All right. So here's an example of a one word can be an independent clause. All right. Now, let's just summarize what we've done here so that you can go and take care of your nosebleed and take an aspirin for your headache from all this English. But let's just summarize what we've done, looked at here. And again, I feel really bad about the video not being fully recorded, but you will have all these notes. I'll give them to you as I have each week. This is what we have looked at so far. All right. We've talked about a sentence is made up of phrases and clauses. A clause contains a subject and a verb, usually an object or predicate adjective or noun. There are two types of clauses. Well, those that are independent, that stand alone, that make a statement by itself, and those that are dependent. That is, we can tell within a sentence that particular clause depends on something else in the sentence to give it meaning. All right. So those are two kinds of clauses. And then finally, we have, again, I guess the signal's getting bad. I don't know. I just have trouble with my internet. But we have, so the clauses, there's two types, independent and dependent. And then there's phrases. Those are a group of words that don't have the subject and verb, and they modify something else in the sentence. And again, a subject, that is what the noun that carries out an action or about which a statement is made. And then the verb is actually describing that action or state. And we talked about an object that receives an action. Then the predicate adjective or predicate noun, that is used in those when we have a verb of being. That is what describes the state of the subject. All right. So here's a example. So with all of that, a sentence presents a subject and something said about that subject. And it's made up of an independent clause and then additional phrases and clauses. Right? That's what a sentence is composed of. That's what is in a sentence. Now, here I have an example, and apparently you may not be able to see it, but I show an example here where I say, Pastor Philip preached a sermon. That's an independent clause. Now I add to that, he preached a sermon with great passion at church in the morning when it was cold. Now those are additional phrases and an additional clause. All of this together is one sentence, but that sentence is made up of, yeah, the screen is blurry. I think my signal's bad again, so I'm sorry about that, guys. You'll see this fully in the notes when I publish them later today. But what I'm showing here is just an example of, let me see. Let me do this. All right. How's that look? You see it now? Okay. All right. So here we can see the sentence I was talking about. Notice the different components, the different pieces. We have the independent clause. Pastor Philip preached a sermon. Subject, verb, object, complete thought. But then I add some additional things to it to give understanding. With great passion, that's a phrase. At church, another phrase. In the morning, another phrase. When it was cold, that's actually a dependent clause. It is a subject, was is a verb. But this cannot stand alone. Notice that word when tells us that it's connected to something else in the sentence. So it's a dependent clause. All right. So here we have an example, a full sentence with several phrases and more than one clause. But every sentence will have an independent clause, at least, at a minimum. All right. Every sentence will at least have an independent clause. And then often there will be added to it additional phrases and clauses. And especially, like I said, if we're looking at the Apostle Paul, he likes to put lots of phrases and lots of clauses at times in his sentences. All right, so what we want to do in a diagram then is we identify those phrases and clauses, and then we will be asking ourselves, how do they fit within the sentence? Where do they connect to? What does each phrase and clause modify? All right, that's where we're going with this. Now, what I'd like to do is I'm going to send you in preparation for next week. I want to send you, have you do, I'm going to give your assignment in 2 pieces. All right. And I really want you guys, even if you haven't been doing the other assignments, I want you to do this one because it will prepare us for next week. And I think you'll get a lot more out of the discussion next week. I'm going to give you, I'm going to send you by email a Word document that's going to have several sentences in it. And what I want you to do is just what we've been doing. Identify the independent clause in each sentence and then indicate the subject, verb, and object. So for example, he hit the rock. This is an independent clause because it can stand alone. The subject is he, the verb is hit, And in this case, there's an object and it's the rock. Okay. So I'm going to give you several sentences and I want you to do this. All right. So this will be sort of your assignment part 1. And like I said, I'd like all of you to take some time to do this. I think, I don't know how many I have here. I have about 10 examples, something like that. And I think it'll help prepare you for our discussion next week. All right. Okay. That's enough, right? You've had enough. Everyone's tired, ready for bed. Thank you for your patience. I hope that was helpful to get the review the basics and look at the building blocks. Next week we'll add more to this so that again eventually we can get to the place where you can break down a passage and identify how the different phrases and clauses fit together in that passage. And by doing that, you'll be able to then express what the author is saying and even be able to outline it and connect that to your sermon. All right.
We have class next week.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't, do we? Next time. Oh, okay. So yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, we're not meeting again for a few weeks. All right. So you'll have plenty of time to study up on English grammar for your holidays, right? That'll be your Christmas present to yourself, is studying English grammar. But I'll send you an assignment. You can start working on it to help with that. Okay. And also, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to, you can message me on Facebook or email me. You will not be interrupting me. I'm happy to help in any way I can. So if anything doesn't make sense, please don't hesitate. You can ask me about that. Whatever question you might have. Okay.
Tim will be back. Is it the first Tuesday of January or?
The first Tuesday of January, actually, we have is a D Lab. So you guys will be, so we won't be meeting until January 12th.
Okay.
So thank you for mentioning that. So that tells us a couple things. One, if you have been unable to complete your assignments, this is a good opportunity to catch up. All right. As I've said before a couple of times, doing these assignments, if you do them, it will help you understand this process much, much better. All right. And I know it's work and I know it's effort. I know you have other responsibilities. So I know this is not easy, but I really, really encourage you to catch up on those assignments and do them. It will really help you in the long run. I'm going to give you, like I said, a exercise to work on at home with the grammar that we've talked about. You'll have time to do that as well. So you'll have 4 weeks. I think you should be able to catch up with these assignments. And again, if there's any way I can help you with them, I'd be happy to do that. I've given you the examples on Canvas to follow these, how to do the assignments. So hopefully the format makes sense and just follow that format. And like I said, I just want you to just try it. Do what you can. But the more effort you put in, I guarantee the more you'll get out of this training. Okay. And then there's the reading assignments. Those will be helpful. I do give you, I think I give you a reading assignment for this break that'll talk about grammar. It's a helpful resource that you can read through a few times that'll discuss some of the things we've been covering together here. All right. But I just want to take the opportunity to wish you brothers a Merry Christmas. And just again, what a great time of year for us to reflect on what Christmas is about and and who it's about, because that's our focus. And so we share a bond because the Lord Jesus Christ came, and that's the only reason we have a connection. We have fellowship in Him, and so I'm grateful to be able to have you as brothers, and I thank you for your diligence and just wanting to be faithful with the Word of God. That really blesses me so much. I'm so encouraged by that, and even your willingness to sit and listen to me talk about English grammar says a lot about your desire to want to know what God says and apply it to your lives. And so thank you, brothers, for being an example in that. And I hope you have a blessed Christmas, and just we'll be praying for you and your families, for your health, and just for God to use you in this time. Pastor Philip, do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say before closing us in prayer?
Not really much. Thank you. Yes, I also wish all of you to have a beautiful and blessed Christmas break